Armada Book 3 Chapter 4 The Romits Part 2. At the mission hall in Andrew's ship, Andrew laid out his plan to use the drones to win the war. Andrew started, I want us to go straight to the Romit galaxies and deploy all our drones and simultaneously dispense the Sanat in all the Romit planets. We will park 80 mly away and have the drones fly the remaining distance or beamed by our ships. Tonen added, the drones would need a day to fly the distance to all the planets from several points in the galaxies. It will take them a few hours to dispense the Sanat and another day to come back. But we will not bring them back but park them near, within an hour from the planet. Each drone needs 2 operators who must be on the drone in 6-hour shifts. Since we only have 1 million or so operators including the new Norset trainees and the other species, we can only deploy 500,000 drones. There are only 282 original Romit planets, so the number of drones would be more than enough. Again, may I remind you that we first must make them agree to our demands, and if they do we would have to spare them the Sanat effects. I hope they would, but if they don't we have no choice. I do not want an open war where I will lose some people. If we have to we will do a Munoan, if not maybe a Tosban-style takeover. It will depend on the situation. Andrew said. Eric added, after the Romits, we have identified more than 108 planets belonging to different species. 80 were Jectinox and there are their old allies. Half of the Armada will leave the Romit galaxies to the various alien galaxies. A new set of drones would have to be deployed towards these planets. These would take another day to reach from our positions, then another day to come back after spending a few hours dispensing the Sanat. Again, we will not bring them back but park them within an hour of the target planet just in case we need them to destroy Romit facilities and ships. After the Sanat takes effect we would make contact and specify our demands with the Romit. They would probably not agree, so after the drones come back to destroy their military facilities and communications infrastructure. We will have to disable their ships and we would have to send the taggers into tag engines as the drones dispense the Sanat. The hackers would have to be deployed in the major ships and ground facilities. Andrew said. The process will have to be done with all the Romit-occupied planets. In this case we would have to tag the Romits so we can beam them out into one of the planets as we disable their ships. We have to beam the Romits out to save them from the wrath of the occupied population. Gantley said. We have been through this before. Only this time we will use the drones more than we have before. You all know the drill. Tonen would be issuing your operating grids and new personnel complements. We have a lot of new members and the old members should exert some effort to coach them and teach them techniques in the field. Andrew explained. Once the personnel alternatives have been defined you have 5 days to integrate and train the new assignees. We would leave today and we would be in the Romit galaxies in 5 days. The whole Armada will separate into 4 groups at around 500 each group to make sure we have the whole galaxies covered within beaming distance. Once nearer each group will separate into groups of 100 ships and hide behind planets. Tonen said. Gantley added, the Romit operations would be done in 2 days from our arrival. Andrew will make our demands with the Romits. In the meantime half of the Armada will fly to free the other alien planets. Once the Sanat takes effect on the freed planets we would have to remove the Romits and put them in a holding planet. Remember that the populace will be disoriented for a day or 2 and it would be in this period that we go in and tag. This would also be a good time for our hackers to go in and get intel. Insantal's group will make contact with their species and their old allies in their planets after 2 days and explain the situation. Andrew stood and, okay guys, make this happen and utilize your ship AI to help you with your assigned tasks. The next 5 days were extremely busy ones for all the ships. The new personnel had to be integrated to their assigned ships and functions. All the drones were re-inspected and the Sanat dispensers installed, which was time-consuming. Scans of the target planets began to come in 4 days before they reached the planets from the HOPS ships earlier deployed. The ship commanders had to make sure they know and understand backwards and forward their target planets in their assigned grids. The Max also had to identify the tag targets so it would be a quick in and out and then on to the next target. The night before the 5th day, Andrew was having dinner at the mess hall with Ellie, Eric, Roger, and Tonen. Cerudum walks in and got his food. I have not talked to you since you arrived, Cerudum, Andrew greeted him. Cerudum pulled a chair and sat between Ellie and Tonen. Busy. I have never imagined preparations can be this hectic. Andrew explained, half of the battle is in the prep. When you were dealing with the Tosbans, this was what you did also I presume. Cerudum said. Ellie answered, yes, but all encounters are unique as you probably read. And all encounters must be met with utmost care in planning and execution down to the lowest rank in the Armada. Tonen said. You know, when we started we only had 1 ship with human and Mac crew and 1 alien that we had to deal with. We have been through a lot. A lot of alien worlds and wars, slavery, aliens eating other aliens. Now we have hop ships that integrated the galaxies and the alien species. Eric said. Andrew looked at Eric. Our adventures have only started to unfold, Eric. There will be much more than what we have done. Until we run out of universe. Roger said. Ellie countered, we can never run out of universe. Then there would be other universes in different dimensions and so on. At some point you would grow weary of the travels and settle down. Tonin said. I would never be weary and settle down. Ellie said. It's a balance. I love what I do, especially now with our allies. The truth is that all the people I have with me are volunteers. I had to turn down 3 times their present number. When I found out that you used a lottery system, I adopted that too. Sarudam said. You should have brought more. Andrew countered. I now know I should have. A large number of the technicians are the bulk of our brightest scientific minds. They got first choice. Then assign them to me. I need more scientists. Right now I feel our staff in the 10 science ships is less than half of what we should have. There is really so much to do and to learn, to develop. Ellie said. Maybe after this mission. I don't want to disturb their present deployment. You know what's funny? Manpat wanted to come with me and I had to turn him down. He persisted for a while and I put my foot down and said no. Too bad for your king, he has you. Tonin said. That's what he said. Tomorrow the Armada will be splitting to the groups assigned grids. Where will you go, Sarudam? Roger asked. I would like to go with Andrew. His sleeping quarters are much better. Good choice. Andrew said. Right now I am sleeping where my men sleep. I keep their morale up even if they are already up. There are actually hops all across the Romit galaxies, so you can still move around if you want. Eric said. I would be with Andrew's group because we need to study the Romits. There are so many unanswered questions. Like, why do they have to deploy the chemicals? Ellie said. Maybe it's what makes them strong or smart and without it they're dumb. Roger conjectured. Or it's their way to mind control. You're saying there could be more to it? Tonin asked. Ellie answered, I think we need to understand why they had to do this. Well, whatever it is, it's messing up a lot of planets and they have to be responsible for their actions. Andrew said. On the way to the Romit galaxies, Olive appeared beside Andrew. Andrew, all the drones from all the ships in all the Romit galaxies have deployed and will reach the target planets in 16 hours. We have identified their parking areas after they destroy their targets and dispense the sanats. Are the taggers and hackers ready? All are practicing their deployment areas. The ship taggers and hackers will deploy as soon as we are in range in 4 to 5 hours. Have you established where their leadership is located? Not yet, but the Norset handling this says within a few hours. Sarudam appeared. How many ships are in orbit? Olive answered, across their entire galaxies, 22,302 warships and 811 freight or non-combat ships. We are dealing with only 2,600 warships in our area. Great, so everything is a go, Olive? Andrew asked. Yes, the taggers, hackers and bombers will go as scheduled to the positions outlined for them. Come on, Sarudam, let's make the rounds around our ships. Sarudam and Andrew went to each and every ship and saw their preparations for the task at hand. They saw the Max practicing according to their expected scenarios. They went to the hangar bay and inspected the drone batteries. Even Sarudam was amazed at how technical his Talonot crews were. The only thing that's different is their uniform and their species, but all of them are talking about the same technical things, the same job to do. When the ships reached beaming range they deployed all the taggers, bombers and hackers. After a few hours they were done and have returned to the ship. It was a non-eventful operation. Gantley appeared with Reek. We have identified the planet that has the Emperor. They are here on this planet in a large palace. We have a few hours to make our demands. Olive, beam us to the bridge. Andrew said. Ellie and some Inkies and Norsets were at the bridge. Olive started, the Emperor and his people have been tagged. They spent several hours observing the Romit planets and ships. How far are we in the tagging? Andrew asked. Right now at 72% of targets. The taggers will be done in 2 hours. Can we just beam the Emperor here and have several Marines restrain him? Andrew asked. Ellie countered, why not just beam him in a time box and free only his head? Tom, get the small time box in Lab 221 and set it there. We may have to send a substitute Emperor when we beam the Emperor out. Andrew said. That would be too dangerous. It's really academic. Our drones will be at the target in a few hours, and if we don't get anything from the Emperor, the die is cast. Ellie said. Tom appeared and set a time box in front of Andrew and the group. Okay, Olive, get the Emperor. Andrew said. The Emperor appeared inside the time box. They can see that the Emperor can move his head and speak. Gantley started, "Greetings Emperor Nakom. Who are you and why am I here? I demand you free me immediately. Nakom, you have been a very bad boy. You have taken over so many planets and your people have eaten and enslaved so many species." Andrew said, "All of them are happy to serve me." Gantley continued, "Tell me, why are you doing this? We are expanding our civilization to countless worlds who can have the benefit from their service to me. You send this chemical out that affects the thinking capabilities of many species. Now we can neutralize this chemical and the people will be freed from their dream state. But we also realize that if we neutralize the chemical in your planet, all your people will go weak, will have a terrible headache and will not be able to function well." Ellie explained. Andrew added, "We will give you the chance to be left alone and exist in peace in your planets. But we will get all your warships and will not allow you to use interplanetary ships other than transport ships. We will get all your expeditionary forces from all the worlds you conquered and return them to your planets. You cannot leave unless we allow you to. Do you understand what I am telling you? I am the Emperor. You do not make demands. You will all serve me. If you may look at yourself now, you can only move your head because we allow it." Olive frees his head. Gantley said, "Let me show you something." Olive show Gantarak before and after the reagent. On the left here Nakom is your commander Gantarak before we deployed the Sanat that neutralizes the effect of the chemical you breathe. On the right is after a few minutes of Gantarak breathing in the reagent. Andrew said. Ellie explained, "Nakom, the Sanat completely neutralized the effect of the chemical you have in the air you breathe. It made Gantarak and all his men unable to function properly. He felt weak and he had a terrible headache. After a few days we observed he can now function and do some work but rather slow. They all think, react and talk very slow." Olive, free his head. "Nakom, do you understand what we are showing to you?" Gantley asked. Andrew explained, "In a few hours, all your planets, 282 of them will breathe the Sanat and all your people will be like Gantarak. Once we dispense the Sanat, they will be in your bodies and will never be removed. Your people will be like Gantarak, slow but able to function and do some work. But you will certainly not be able to go to war. We will allow you to live and continue with your lives and we will even prevent your enemies from killing you and your people. We just want you to agree to all of this." Gantley said. "Never. I am your emperor. Release me immediately. We have been in this situation before. Why not just do a Tosban on the Romits?" Sarudam asked. Andrew looked at Sarudam as Ellie said, "The die is cast. We are not going to kill them, we are disabling them. They will still live and even grow their society but they would not be able to wage war or conquer anyone anymore." Sarudam countered, "The people would suffer for the error of their leaders. If we do not do this they would be able to fight back and some of our people may die." Andrew said. "And they wouldn't even know what happened. They would just feel weak, have a bad headache and slower metabolism. They had no chance to choose." Sarudam argued. "If you give them the choice now, their choice will be to fight back maybe until all the warriors are killed. Then they will stop. What would be a better alternative than that?" Ellie countered. Olive broke to argument, "Our probes show that the planets are mobilizing the warships. They are in heightened state of alert since their emperor disappeared. A large group is mobilizing near Tonan and another large group is mobilizing between Eric and Roger. Olive, send a probe to the largest ship near us and dispense some Sanat so we can show Nakom what is happening to his warriors." Gantley said. Olive produced several floating holograms and Nakom can see his warriors screaming in pain and unable to get up. The probes were in several ships and he could see all of them on the floor squirming in pain holding their heads. "Nakom, all you have to do is agree and your people will not suffer." Andrew said. "My people will suffer great pain for me. I think we should stop dealing with this guy." Ellie said in frustration. Andrew agreed, "You're right. Olive, freeze him. Send out the taggers to all the ships and tag the Romits royal family and leadership." Olive explained, "The taggers have already done that for the royal families and their top leadership. It will take them an hour to do the job on the next layers. When they're done tagging Romits in our side of the galaxy, beam the warriors who have taken the Sanat to the palace. Assemble the royal family in the palace and hold them in time boxes. Let them see what happened to their warriors. Maybe we can get lucky with the family." Andrew said. "I don't think the royal family will be any different. But there is always hope." Sarudam said. "If we freeze the kids, the mothers will agree." Ellie said. "There are 189 members of his family. The emperor has 9 queens, 2 sisters and 4 brothers who are all married. Would you like to have me beam them in the hangar?" Olive asked. "Yes. Let's all go to the hangar then, including Nakom here." Andrew said. They were all beamed into the hangar and after a minute or so the Romit royal family was beamed in front of them. In their frozen state, they cannot even move their eyes. Olive, who are the queens? Andrew asked. Olive moved 9 Romits in front of them and beside Nakom. Andrew continued, put Nakom in a sealed container and we will show them the effect of the Sanat on their emperor. Unfreeze the queen's heads. Greetings. You may have seen some of your warriors appearing in the palace with a terrible headache. They come from your ships in orbit and we just dispensed a chemical we call Sanat and it neutralizes the effect of the chemical that you breathe in your planet. We have asked Nakom here to agree to certain demands, otherwise all your people in 282 planets will suffer the same fate. Andrew said. Ellie repeated their demands from Nakom and explained what will happen if they do not agree. We will show you the effects of the Sanat on your emperor. Olive, please dispense the Sanat inside the container. They could see Nakom inside a container with misty air. Then he started screaming that his head hurts. But since his body is frozen, he can only scream. After a few minutes he stopped screaming and looked at the women. He started to talk now and he talked very slowly and almost whispering. Andrew exclaimed, that is the end of your emperor. So now, there are 9 queens here and I want you all to agree to our demands and we will spare your people and your family from this fate. One of the queens started to talk. I am first Queen Natia, I will agree to your terms on behalf of my family and people. Andrew moved nearer to her, thank you. But we will go on and destroy all your spaceship building capabilities and all your facilities that builds weapons. You will not leave your galaxies until we allow you to. We will return all your warriors that have occupied and enslaved other species. All your warships are ours. We will release all of you now so you can start communicating with your commanders and people our demands. Tell them to stay out of our way so nobody gets hurt. Do you understand? Yes. What about Nakom? Do you want to take him with you? Andrew asked. Natia looked at Nakom then at Andrew. No. We'll take care of him then. Andrew said. Thank you. Natia said. You're welcome. Andrew said and looked at Olive and immediately Natia and her group were beamed back. The Intergalactic Council has a message for you. Olive said. Wait, Olive, tell all the commanders to continue with the target missions. Make sure they do not miss any potential target. Scan and reanalyze the planets and look for hidden targets. Yes, Andrew. Olive said. Gantley agreed, good call. I would hide potential targets. What was the message, Olive? Ellie asked. They want you to make first contact with the human species. They also instructed Gantley to make contact with all Inkeys and Tonin to make contact with all Norsets. They are telling us to free all species from the Romits. Olive said. How many human planets are still there to free, Olive? Andrew asked. Just 2, both are Neanderthal. How about Inkeys? Gantley asked. 6 planets and for the Norsets, 3 more. The Romits have also taken over 2 Marinti planets, 2 Dugnog settlements and 1 unknown alien. Olive explained. I have to go now. Gantley said. Andrew exclaimed, wait, Olive, Gantley tell the Norset and Inkey trainee ships when they're done with the operations to tow all the Romit ships and dump them in a barren planet then blow them all up. We don't want to mess up their galaxies with ship debris. Good idea. Gantley agreed. Olive, Ellie, let's just take 100 ships and head out to the 2 human planets. Tell Eric he's in charge here. Andrew said. Suddenly Dr. Reek beams in. Your timing is perfect, Dr. Reek. Andrew said. Of course. I wouldn't miss this for the world. Andrew smiled. They spent several days mopping through their targets, making sure the Romits were rid of their ships and ship-building capabilities. They beamed all the Romit ship personnel to their cities and beamed the ships to a planet and destroyed them. At the mission hall, all the ship commanders were assembled. Olive started, we would be arriving at the first Neanderthal planet in 10 hours. We will be in beaming range in 4 hours. Good. Okay guys, we will be making first contact for this planet, then another one and then for the other 2 Neanderthal planets we found earlier. This one is occupied by Romits and we would have to remove them. The usual tagging and beam out. Hopefully there would not be any issues. One inescapable issue is how to deal with the population. Andrew said. The issue is that what would our contact with these people bring them in terms of benefits? Ellie added. Exactly my thinking. And what benefit would we get from this first contact? The Max made first contact because they believe the Earth will not be habitable in 1400 years. But then orders are orders and they must know something we don't. Andrew said. So the normal course you follow is to leave people alone and have them develop and grow on their own? Reek asked. Yes, that is the assumed option. Ellie answered. Whatever we would be doing after we remove the Romits, we would have to leave maybe a couple of ships in orbit to relate with them. Now I reviewed some of your files and there are a few of you who are experienced in social issues, management and public policy. But then I would ask for volunteers first. Anybody willing, please raise your hand. Andrew said. None volunteered. Sir, how long do we have to stay with these people? Kirk asked. Frankly, I don't know. But first contact does not mean establishment of a base or anything like that. They may want to be left alone. Some of them may not want us there at all. Some may want to help them, some may not. It's all up there right now. Sarudam chimed in. Frankly, I don't understand why you people hesitate. These are your own species. Remember when you first appeared in our planet and you pretended to be Marantais and we welcomed you as our own. We did not expect you to help us, but you volunteered and we accepted, not knowing what it is you were to do. I don't know that story, but when they approached you, Sarudam, you did accept them, right? Reek asked. Sarudam nodded. Because they are our own. That's why we assumed the image of the Marantais, so you would not have a hard time accepting us or any help from us. Ellie said. So you're saying that we should make first contact with any human we meet? Andrew asked. Sarudam nodded. Yes. That's what we would do. The coming into the fold is the benefit itself. I would agree with Sarudam. Reek said. Ellie added, remember our talk with Gantley, sir, it's really just a point of view. We simply must change the way we look at other humans. Andrew agreed, I guess you're right. We would know better once we see what's out there. How many Romit ships are there, Olive? Only 32 ships, but 8 are very large, maybe a quarter of our size. Okay guys, prepare your people. When we reach beaming range in a few hours, start deploying the taggers and bombers. I also want probes immediately deployed and drones ready to go. Andrew said. They are always ready to go. Ellie said. Andrew stood. Thank you. You are all dismissed. The commanders beamed out and in a quick second the hall was empty except for Reek, Sarudam and Ellie. Let's have something to eat before we get busy. Reek said. If I don't know better, Dr. Reek, I think you are always hungry. Andrew said and laughed.